Hi everyone, my name is Kat Savage and I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and wellbeing expert working in the creative arts sector. In my line of work, I get to meet some amazing, colourful people, from actors to artists, people who live their lives by their own rules, fueled by passion and determination to bring their unique talents into the world. I wanted to discover what it took for people to leave the usual 9 to 5 and hop on a dream, to capture their bravest moments and share these meaningful conversations with you, so that together we can explore the ideas, emotions, and moments that could potentially change our lives too. The Brave Moment podcast starts now, in the middle of the COVID pandemic, probably the bravest moment not only for my guests, but for the whole world. So let's keep talking, have some fun, and enjoy the show. My guest this week is creative polymath and yogi, Maggie Vassie. Maggie's extraordinary ability to multi-craft to an exceptional level has landed her work in many well-known glossy magazines and on social media communities from around the world. But not many people know that since her early 20s, Maggie has suffered with immense pain in her hypermobile body. And it wasn't until she discovered yoga that she found herself bravely changing her career and dedicating her life to one better suited to her body. Crafter, yogi, and self-confessed geek girl, I introduce you to the extraordinary Maggie Vassie. Maggie Vassie, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Oh, listeners, I have to tell you about this girl. So I met this girl on a roller skating ring of all places. And let me tell you something. It's very true what they say about the Scottish. They are absolutely wild. She'd thrash her way around this ring. And I was actually scared for my life. But there you go. That's Maggie to a T, I say. But Maggie, apart from being a scary skater, she is a creative polymath. What does that even mean?
I love the term polymath because there's nothing that I'm not interested in. It's someone who knows everything about everything. And I think the last true polymath was Thomas Young. He just invented loads of things, made incredible science things. So I'm just going to focus on craft and say that I'm a craft polymath.
And what crafts do you do?
I'm just looking over at my little craft space. Knitting, crochet, done a bit of felting. I'm sitting on some crochet. Sewing, painting, watercolours, journaling, paper making, bookbinding. Yeah, anything really, I'm into it.
I love that. So was there someone in your childhood that was like a major inspiration for this crafting craziness that you're a part of now?
My first thought is Neil Buchanan.
Excellent.
However, I think more accurately, my granny. I think I see that so much in my nieces now, that I see my nieces like following around my granny and being like, "What are you doing? Can I do that too?" and yeah, I think that's how my granny sort of entertained me. She taught me to sew. Like I was too young to be operating a sewing machine, but I was on it.
How old were you?
I'm sure my granny would correct me, but I think maybe about 7 or so I was.
Already on a sewing machine.
Yeah. There's a teddy behind you, and I used to make him clothes, the little ginger guy.
Oh.
Yeah. I used to, he had a very smart set of corduroy trousers and a satin vest that I made for him.
He's very naked now, listeners, I should say. So clearly there must be something you must make for him for Christmas to make him super dandy.
Oh, he might need a jumper, yeah. That's fair.
So your gran took you at 7 years old and started teaching you the ropes, as it were. Did that passion stay with you through your childhood, or did you come back to it later on in life?
Yes, so I think I started, baking, sewing, knitting and crocheting with my granny. I remember one Christmas just getting loads of art supplies And it's just, you know, the best Christmas ever, getting like real fancy oil pastels and charcoals and just trying out everything. And I got super duper into art. And then I think I maybe came back to crochet and knitting and things when I was in my teens. I was up visiting Granny in Scotland. She sat me down and like showed me how to do it, slapped my fingers when I was doing it wrong and things.
I mean, how easy is it to learn?
I'd say if you're in that sort of zone where you're wanting to learn it and you're interested and you're curious in it, then you'll be ready to put the effort in and learn.
Would you be able to teach me something like right now on the spot?
I've got some knitting ready.
How exciting!
I started it off to make it easy because we discussed this before. So here's hang on, which ones?
So just so you know at home, listeners, Maggie's handing me this beautiful, deep turquoise, thick wool. It's not thin and strangly. It's really ropey almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a big set of almost like wooden big knitting needles. What size are these?
So you have 8mm needles, and this is a super chunky yarn.
Excellent.
If you are learning to knit or crochet, I'd really recommend going for a light, bright colour so you can see what you're doing. Big, chunky needles and thick wool, because it works up really quickly and you can see what you're doing, and instant gratification is always a super bonus when you're doing crafts.
And I'm quite an impatient person,
Yes,
so
me too.
it's nice that with knitting in particular, you can see your progress as you go. So how do I even begin, Maggie?
Now, when we were having lunch, you mentioned that you're ambidextrous, but a little cat-candied when it comes to knitting.
Yes.
So I thought I'd try and teach you continental knitting.
Ooh.
So normally your yarn will be in your left hand if you're a right-handed person. But with continental knitting, you loop your working yarn over your index finger.
What, on your left side?
On your left hand,
Right,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
We take the needle in our right hand and we go through the front of that stitch. So just pop it through.
Yep.
And then you're just going to flick the yarn over.
Like that?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
And then pull that loop down through.
So down
like yeah,
and
perfect.
through.
And slide it off the end of the needle. Push it all up to the end.
I'm so scared of ruining this wonderful thing.
No.
So I take it all the way over there.
Yeah, and that is your...
Is that my first one? Oh,
yeah.
that one?
That's your first stitch.
Wow, that's so much easier
I
than
figured...
normal knitting.
Because I've seen you can write like left and right-handed and things like that, which I find amazing. So yeah, through the front door, round the back, through the window,
And then off.
I
did it, listeners. Oh my goodness.
You're actually nailing it.
I'm nailing it. There, you heard it here first. Maggie Vassie says I am nailing it. So I'm going to try and explain it to you in the terms that I can see. So I'm getting my right needle is in my right hand, and I'm shoving it through the loop that Maggie has made so lovely for me in around the back. I'm getting the wool on my left index finger, and I'm just flicking it over the top and then dragging it back out and then lifting that stitch off, and it's so easy.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I think the thing with having the yarn in your right hand, you kind of have to drop your needle to wrap the wool around.
Yeah.
Whereas having it wrapped around your left finger, once you get good at it, you can just
get
go
really
quick with it.
Oh my god! I have to say, she's doing this like the speed of light. I can't even keep up. But for me, actually, I'm doing it relatively quickly. Bear in mind, I haven't knitted for, I don't know, about 10 years, I imagine. So when you're crafting, do you reckon that your inner child, the one that grew up with your granny, is in charge of your crafting exploration, or do you think it's a very adult, mature head coming in?
I feel if I'm creating something from scratch, something from my imagination, that is very much the inner child. I used to design amigurumi, which is, amigurumi is a Japanese term for crocheted dolls. And they're all like super cute. But I started to realise that if I could draw it, and if I could imagine it, I could make anything. And then that's when the inner child starts going like proper crazy. And I would be like, well, I'm going to make an alien with 2 heads and 3 legs. It's going to be blue. That pattern is available on my blog.
No way. Yeah. That is awesome.
And yeah, I started to realise that if I could draw it, I can make it. And that's, I think, where the inner child comes in. But when I'm doing it, I feel very present. It's a sense of the flow state. You get such focus and you're just really, really into what you're doing, and it's kind of like tricking yourself into meditation. I mean, it's the same reaction in your brain that happens when you meditate. The amygdala like relaxes, and
you enter that alpha brainwave, don't you? That very, very focused space.
When you get into that flow state, whether you're like drawing something really, really detailed or like crocheting something for hours and hours, just getting really focused on it and seeing it grow in front of you, it like creates that same meditative state, which I just love. It feels very rewarding.
Coming back to... Right, I have to say this for my dad, because Steve Savage is a massive fan of stationery, as am I, but particularly bookbinding.
Yeah.
So how did you learn?
Being a stationery addict, like your dad.
We should have a support group, by the way, I think. I'm sure there must be a word for it.
I'm in a stationery nerd group, and we have a word called penabler.
I love that.
But bookbinding is like a drug addict making their own crack. Seriously. I was just like scrolling through the short courses at Plymouth Art College. I was like looking at pottery and things like that. I was like, interesting. I was like, bookbinding! And just got so insanely excited about it. And I swear, like everyone else in this class was just like, okay, we're here for bookbinding. And I was like, yeah, bookbinding! So, Tom, what GSM paper are we using today? And stuff. And everyone was like, calm down, Maggie. No one should be that excited about paper. But this girl's excited about paper.
And I love it so much. Every time I spend time with Maggie, we end up talking about stationery in some capacity. But bookbinding, what freedom did that give you with your craft?
Well, if you need a journal that can stand up to fountain pens or watercolour or collaging, and you choose the paper. You can choose like what the type of paper that you bind into it. You can choose what paper you bind the covers in. You can, even the type of stitching that you bind it in will create different effects. So a case-bound book with a covered spine is a more traditional sort of book, but a Coptic-bound book like lays flat.
Ooh, I like that word. Say it again.
Coptic.
Coptic-bound book. Oh,
yes. The Coptic-bound ones, like the spine's exposed, which, like, you know, if you do some super sexy stitching up the spine of the book, then you can really show that off. And things like you can put extra bits of card into the spine so that the spine is thicker, but the pages are thinner. So it's kind of a wedge shape. And then when you fill up your book full of collage and photos and postcards and things, your book isn't the opposite shaped wedge, it's a regular shaped book at the end of it. When you fill it all up, you can accommodate for every kind of need that you have out of your book. So yeah,
totally sold. I'm totally sold. I'm so, after this, I'm so going on Google, going on Pinterest, and literally just going to be obsessed with Coptic bound bookbinding.
Oh, and that's such you can do. It's amazing.
Good word. I can't get over that word. talking of bookbinding and your journaling, your journals, I mean, if you go onto Journal Right Now on Instagram, you'll find Maggie's incredible journaling. You're meticulous with your journaling. What is it that you do to make it so special?
Well, being a stationery addict, I hoard stickers, washi tape, which is like masking tape, but it's coloured really pretty and has lovely patterns on it, pretty bits of paper and things like that, and I just stick it all in, watercolours and things. So me and my partner on like a Sunday, we might pop a podcast on, like the Brave Moment podcast. It's a very good podcast.
Well, of course.
And we will just do our hobbies around the kitchen table, and I might prep a whole bunch of pages in advance and just throw colour and stickers and everything onto the page and do whatever I want. And then I have this like beautiful, colourful canvas to write upon. You know, journals just gratefully receive everything that you pour into them. It doesn't matter if you're just describing the mundane or getting a whole bunch of stuff off of your chest. That's what it's there for.
And I mean, we know that writing in particular is so good for your mental health, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, a notebook and a pen is so much cheaper than a therapist. And your notebook doesn't have to interject with their opinions on what you're pouring into it. You can just let everything pour out onto the page, and the writing slows down your mind. It helps you discern what's true, because we lie to ourselves a lot. You can discern what's important to you as well, and by the end of a journaling session, you're so much lighter, because even if you're like scrolling for pages and pages, you have clarity in the end, because you've poured everything out onto that page and gone through that mental process of clarifying and clearing everything.
The thing that I love about what you do is not only are you very gracious with sharing what you put on in your journal on Instagram and on social media, but you'll also pick topics, won't you? So I know that recently you've done something with Terry Pratchett. Talk to me about that.
So I think with any book, it's a journey, and I really wanted to detail that journey. I'm a real homebody, so I'm not going to write a travel journal or anything like that. But the imagination journey that you go on with Terry Pratchett, I wanted to document. One of the first pages, I've drawn a picture of a bookshelf with all of the books, and I colour in each book as I've read it. And there's little sort of rats and lilacs and things like that for like represent various things in the Discworld.
And it just goes to prove that, you know, sometimes it can be a bit intimidating, especially if you're buying a new journal for the first time. I know that every single beginning of the year, Dad and I have this conversation, and it goes something like this. So, have you started your new journal yet? No. Have you? No. I'm too scared to write in it. Me too. I'm too scared to write in it. What is that? What is that? But you're saying here, this is the beauty of Maggie's mind, that, yeah, you can put down your thoughts of the day, but also try picking a topic.
I think because I see myself and my dogs quite a lot, that I'll just be like pottering along a bit. Oh, squirrel. And that's me with like, oh, brightly coloured pens. And things like that. And so I have like a meditation journal and a Discworld journal, and what do I have here? This is my regular journal. This one's art.
And it's got beautiful art in, by the way. Everything is meticulous and perfect.
Oh, this one I started a bullet journal. So
what's a bullet journal?
So a bullet journal's like a planner. So if you buy like a regular diary or planner, it has the set days and everything in it. And, you know, if you decide not to fill it in for a few weeks, you feel a bit bad because you've wasted those pages. Whereas a bullet journal, you can choose the layout. It can be as minimalist or as complicated and pretty as you choose it to be. the bullet part comes from these bullet points. So for tasks, I have a square. So I have laundry filled in here, and so I draw a square, and it's an empty square, and then when the laundry's done, I colour in that square. A circle for an appointment, like podcast.
Nice. Glad I made it into your journal, Maggie.
If a task is half done, the square is half coloured and thing. And I think also if you're a stationery nerd, you'll look at journals and be like, it's not like, why is the Sunday thing always so small? Like, I do a lot of stuff on Sundays. Like,
So true.
You need it the way you want it, and with bullet journaling, you can do it the way you want it. So,
and looking at what you've got here, so she's literally just got a square for each day of the week, and she's put these bullets into each square. It looks as though it would be quite a nice, simple way for people to sort of enter into the journaling world if they're feeling a bit intimidated by starting their own thing. That would be a really good place to start, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so the Bullet Journal website has just this great video. Their style is very minimalist. Like the journaling community online, took that idea and ran with it. And just typing in Bujo, B-U-J-U, you can see just the amazing sort of creative ways that people interpret this very basic concept of planning. So the original bullet journal was one notebook for everything. You'd number your pages, have an index at the front, and maybe one page is what you're doing that day and all your bullets, and then the next page is a recipe, and the next page is a rant and things. So it has this incredible function to it.
I love that.
Yeah.
As a busy person as well, that sounds like the perfect kind of journaling for me.
And an analogue solution to an increasingly digital world as well.
Absolutely. And talking of that, I mean, in order to create these beautiful journals, we have to talk about pens. So I'm sure Maggie is going to mention her favourite brands at the moment. There are other brands available, so please check them out.
I'm kind of thrifty. I don't really tend to spend a stupid amount of money, like people who can drop like 60 quid on a fountain pen. I'm like, oh, steady on, girl. The Pilot Petite range of fountain pens are adorable and dinky. And my goodness, the quality is exceptional. I can leave those pens for months and months and pick them up and they write perfectly first time. And that is really hard to come by with a fountain pen. The super fun thing about the Pilot Petite pens is that when you run out of the ink cartridges, and we're all striving to create less plastic in the world, you can convert these pens into an eyedropper pen, recycle the cartridge, and take some silicone grease and put that around the spirally bits, the threads.
Yeah, the thread.
And then take an eyedropper, drop in the ink into the well part, and thread it all up. Maybe keep it in like a Ziploc bag for a few days just to make sure. But then, oh my goodness, you are open to the whole world of incredible inks. And thrifty tip, if you're in America, then, was it Goulet or Goulet pens? They do ink samples of every kind of fancy ink, so you don't have to drop a stupid amount of money on a whole bottle of ink when you can buy like 2 to 5 milliliters in a little vial, and you get to test out loads. But there's also people on eBay who sell ink samples as well, and you get to just try everything, and who doesn't want to try everything? I mean, buffet is a competitive sport in Scotland, so...
Oh, I love you so much, Maggie. So that's a really good place to start. How about those more special pens? I mean, what's the most sentimental pen that you own?
I hoard pens like Smaug. It's ridiculous. The more the better. The pens need company, Kat.
The pens do need company. They really do. I can relate to that.
And then you get like a brush pen in like the Pentel brush pens that it's a Pentel, Pentel Sign, Pentel Touch. That's what the range is called. And they're a fantastic range of brush pens. You can go into any independent art shop and pick them up individually, which I'd certainly recommend just to try it out. Pick your favourite colour, give it a go. And if you want to like really go for it, you can buy the whole set. And you can do the same with Tombow brush pens. They're much thicker, wider, so to do much bigger lettering. The Tombow brush pens are much thicker. And again, you can pick them up individually or in sets. And it's really nice to like support independent art shops, even if you're just like, I need a hit. Like, I'm just going to pick up one Tombow brush pen. And by one pen, it's more like 5.
Okay, so let's just have a talk about this lettering situation. So when I last saw you, I said, I've just discovered this wonderful magazine called Simply Lettering, and it's all about calligraphy and stuff. To which Maggie replied, yes, I know, I'm in it. And I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised, but there you go. Lettering, why is lettering important? I mean, what do you get out of it when you practice beautiful lettering, which obviously you have?
Well, I feel in this sort of day and age where we're typing so much more and we're especially on our phones, everything's coming out through our thumbs. I find handwriting just so beautiful. I love just something very satisfying about just looking at pictures of people's handwriting, just regular handwriting, not even calligraphy. But when it gets into calligraphy, you're like, oh yeah.
And I get this, listeners. I'm practicing my calligraphy at the moment, but it's a slow process, isn't it?
And the wonderful thing about any kind of hobby is that, you can get into journaling or you can get into lettering, but like, lettering has brush calligraphy or typography, like the kind of lettering that you see in pubs and things like that when they're writing the specials board and things. Special people come and do that, and God, I envy them.
I mean, I'm thinking about it now, but improving your handwriting, it's got limitless opportunity, hasn't it? Because you can always improve it. You can always keep building on that particular craft. Well, some crafts, once you've learned it, I suppose, you can change your patterns and stuff like that. But really, it's the same process. But with handwriting, it's ever changing, isn't it?
Definitely. Looking back on my old journals to now, my handwriting has changed a lot. And even day to day, on days when I'm like knees up to my chest just scribbling away, or if I'm sat at table writing, I can really see the difference in my handwriting. I think we, like you said about the fear of the blank page, is you're worried about, oh no, I can't.
I'm going to mess it up.
And I was just like, the worst thing you can do to a journal is not use it.
That is, I'm going to have to remember that because I've got so many half-finished journals.
You are fulfilling that journal's purpose by writing in it.
It's Christmas destiny.
It doesn't matter if you're scrawling or you're doing beautiful typography or anything. You're filling those pages, you're using it.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'm going to take your wise words of wisdom. Talking of writing, very tedious link, listeners. Let's talk about pen pals. So, I mean, obviously, we know you're a great calligrapher. We know that you love to journal, but you actually use it to benefit someone else's mental health.
I have various pen pals. There's some wonderful groups online like International Geek Girl Pen Pals. They you fill in this little form, and once a month they will do this big matching event where they match you to your pen pal. So you end up like it's a blind date basically. You and you can email or you can post and things. Also Worldwide Pen Pals, I think that's a Facebook group. Super, like, you can just be like, hi, I am Maggie, these are the things I'm interested in, and then people who are similarly interested will message you. So we've gotten lots of pen pals, have pen pals in Scotland, like people that I used used to know in Scotland, friends who came to Plymouth and have moved away. I've stayed in touch with letter writing, but also very regular pen friends that I've met online, and we've just like developed great bond just through like regular years and years of writing back and forth to each other. And we'd never met, but we're really good friends and we know everything about each other because we write to each other. And I think especially for introverts, pen pal writing is all of the benefits of making a friend without having to leave your house.
I love that. I'm going to get pen pal after this. And I'll have to share my results with you listeners. Okay, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit now. If you could speak to any of your deceased relatives, who would it be and what would you say?
I think my great granny and great grandpa died when I was really young, and I have just little snapshot memories. And at the time, like I didn't understand that great grandpa had dementia. I thought he was just messing with me, you know, and I'm just like an innocent child, so it was never anything upsetting. But to be able to connect with them as an adult would be amazing, because I just have these really short glimpses of them in my memory, and to be able to actually get to know them and understand so much more about them than remembering their teapot or remembering rolling down the hill in the back garden or something. To be able to fill in some more blanks and understand them rather than their teapot.
Aww, that's so cute. I love it. Coming back to your journaling, what legacy are you hoping to leave?
Well, I read this book called A Life Discarded by Alexander Masters. And it's a true story. He finds like hundreds of journals in a skip and starts reading them, and he's able to decipher, after like lots and lots of studying and things, he tries to find out who this person is. Being a journaler, I just found it fascinating, and a part of me just really hopes that I just want to, you know, leave them somewhere with no preface or anything, just like, here's a bunch of journals, make of it what you will. Just send them out into the universe. And I think that, you know, that's how I see myself going, is I just inhabit this corporal form and I'll just evaporate into the universe eventually. And I think my journals will just go out into the universe and people will be like, who is this mad woman? But having read A Life Discarded, so there was some really interesting points that he made, like you don't say Maggie had a good day today or anything. You don't use your own name. You don't even refer to your own gender when you're referring to yourself.
That's very true, actually.
Yeah. So on my Instagram page, I started a journal prompt series called Personal History. I found it just really interesting to just take these personal history prompts, like, you know, where did you grow up? Describe your childhood bedroom. A favourite one, describe a smell that reminds you of childhood.
What smell does remind you of childhood?
Crayola crayons. Ice cream tub full of Crayola crayons, all broken and everything. Incredible.
I love that. Oh. I'm just trying to think what my smell would be. I think it would probably be my mum's perfume, which at the time was a Nay. And every time I smell that, it does remind me of being a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got a bit more of a different taste now, don't you, Miss Chanel? But yeah, that's a really good place to start. And wonderful things that we don't get to experience when we are looking back, like you said, like looking at your granny and granddad's teapots, knowing what their favourite smell is, or knowing those little intricate details that we forget so quickly about someone. Oh, that breaks my heart. I'm going to read that book. That sounds epic. Now we've got a little bit spiritual, darling. talk to me about your yoga. So I know that physically you've had a bit of pain in your life, haven't you?
I think because I have hypermobile joints, I've always been into dance and gymnastics and things, and as a child that's just great, and you're just like, look at me, I can drop into the splits, bam. But as you get older, it creates a lot of wear and tear on your joints, and I've been experiencing joint pain since my early 20s, but kind of been fobbed off by doctors and being like, you're too young to have joint pain and things. But now I'm starting to get to the bottom of it, and which I understand to be that hypermobility has caused increased wear and tear on my joints. Yeah, the yoga, it's a double-edged sword, because I'm good at yoga because I'm hypermobile, but hypermobility exacerbates the pain. But I've never regretted going to a yoga class or teaching a yoga class. And I think you learn so much more about your body when you start to study a physical practice. Doing yoga, you need to put your ego in the bin. And I think when I started my foundation course with the Devon School of Yoga, based in Exeter, which is just the most incredible experience, but I found myself comparing myself to the 18-year-old in the class, and I'm like, girl, you are not 18 years old. Stop it. And I did hurt myself by trying to push a little harder. So I was like, well, she can stretch that far, I can. Put your ego in the bin and just do it for yourself. And I think the second thing, the most important thing I also learned studying yoga was anatomy and understanding what good posture is. And just that knowledge was so beneficial to be able to be like, oh, I have hyperkyphosis because which is like hunched back because I work. I see you straightening yourself up when I mention it.
I was so hunched over then, guys.
And yeah, if you work at a desk all day, you become a real desk goblin, and you're just hunched over. Your head is forward, your shoulders are rounded. But
I'd imagine also when you're using your phone all the time,
your
looking
head is
down the whole time.
And if we all held our phones up, our arms would get tired and we'd stop using our phones so much.
Maybe that's how we're going to change the world, Maggie.
You've got to look after that posture, because your back won't regenerate. You got to look after what you've got.
I love that. So, I mean, obviously in your crafting, you're connected to imagination. What are you connected to in yoga that's beyond your physical body?
Studying the philosophy of yoga was just mind-blowing. I just love the philosophy of it, understanding like the 8 limbs of yoga. It's a 2,000-year-old practice. It's so much more than asana. The physical yoga practice that we know. It's the whole goal of yoga is to reach that stillness of the mind, and it comes through non-harming, like they say, vegetarianism, keeping your body clean, keeping your mind clean, self-study, so journaling, svadhyaya, self-study.
Bless you.
I love a bit of Sanskrit, babes. It's understanding yourself, like how are you going to get past any mental obstacles that you have if you don't understand yourself first? And it's just such a rabbit hole to dive down, the whole philosophy behind yoga. And the practice itself kind of helps you connect with the universe. When you chant Om, it resonates with the universe, it resonates with every being around you and in the world, and it makes you feel all tingly and nice.
Gonna Om in my shower tomorrow morning. If your parents could describe you, I mean, after obviously I've just heard that you're this creative polymath yogi, you know, best-selling magazine person. Like, how would they describe you? How would your mum describe you?
I just want to give a little shout out to my mum because she really helped me. So did my partner Sean. They really helped me achieve my yoga teacher training. They were my willing stooges and everything. But my mum always says that I'm so clever and that it's just so sweet. Just, you know, have that little pat on the back and be like, oh, you're so clever. and
I've heard that Maggie's mum is a little imp. She's a little tricksy pixie. She likes to play a good joke on people, doesn't she?
She's very mischievous.
Do you think that comes down through you?
I have no desire for drama in my life, so like that is all her. She's
So you're the clever one and she's the tricksy pixie. I love it.
But yeah, I think, you know, I have massive imposter syndrome, so just having that, oh, you're so clever, I'm just like, oh, thanks.
When you say imposter syndrome, I mean, it's something that anybody that's in any kind of creative workspace or creative industry, I think imposter syndrome is such a massive thing. What advice would you give people, you know, just to tackle that?
I mean, even Neil Gaiman has imposter syndrome. He tweeted or he said something about imposter. And I was just like, when you realise that people who are at the top of their field have imposter syndrome, you're like, oh, this isn't everybody thing. This isn't a me thing. And just keep creating. It's whatever you create is valid. And I often, like, I love scrolling through Instagram and things and looking at other artists and seeing the beautiful things that they create. And it's just acknowledging that they have their own skill, their own style, and they've spent, what you don't see is the hours and hours that they've worked. Also, you don't see all the rubbish attempts that they did before they put it on social media. Because everybody's life is so well curated online. So don't judge yourself. Just keep doing, keep trying, because you will get there. Every calligrapher or like modern lettering kind of person that I see, they all say the same thing, that it's all practice. And sharing your progress, I think, helps other people see, like, you know, I started off shaky hands and like letters all over the place and things, but practice, you learn so much through trial and error. It's, yeah, you can't teach self-confidence. It has to come from yourself.
Oh, I love that. Talking of self-confidence, I mean, we are coming to the end of the interview, sadly coming to the end of the interview. I'm loving it. The holidays are coming up. What is something very simple that if you've got kids or something like that, what can they make for the holidays? Again,
I think thriftiness is key, especially around Christmas, and especially in 2020. So making an activity that will pay off and be super cheap is just what everybody needs. So things like go out for a walk and pick up pine cones, and you can chuck them in the oven to kill any bugs, and things. Put a little string around them, paint them, hang them on the Christmas tree, or slicing. I made a little note, hang on. If you slice oranges, my sister-in-law does this every year with her children. It makes the house smell amazing. So if you slice oranges into 1 centimetre slices, and put them on a rack, not a baking tray, because they will stick like cement, at 120 degrees C, for 2 to 3 hours in the oven. They dry out and they will make your house smell amazing. They make these little stained glass oranges.
Wow.
And if you put them in front of your fairy lights, the lights shine through, so they smell nice, they look nice.
I love that idea. It's so simple as well. It's something that you could just, I mean, anyone can do that, and it's practically free.
And you don't have to give your money to I say
corporations.
Yeah, a big corporation with this like ridiculously expensive tie-dye kit or something.
So I have one final question for you, and obviously it incorporates the name of the show. What has been your bravest moment or moments, do you think?
I mean, at times when I am in extraordinary pain, choosing to get up and go on feels brave, and I neglect to give myself a pat on the back on those really hard days when everything hurts and you don't get any sleep because everything hurts and just everything's so hard to do. But also choosing to become a yoga teacher was a huge thing for me. I was in a really cushy job, and we were all told like, oh, at 2:30 p.m. everyone stop what you're doing. There's this phone call that everyone will receive. We all listen to at the same time, and we basically all got told at the same time that the whole company is shutting and we're all being made redundant. And my mind just went ooh for a moment as I just tried to process like I had, incredible benefits and really good pay and a job that I was like pretty good at, and I was just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'd already started a regular yoga practice at this time, and my wonderful yoga teacher, Emily, was really encouraging about me doing the teacher training. And after that little sort of mental, oh my God, I'd made the decision within like a few hours of being told that I was being made redundant to start my yoga teacher training. And no regrets. It's been incredible.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. What advice would you give people out there who are thinking of, maybe they're in the same situation, especially right now, or they're thinking of changing out their usual 9 to 5 for something a little bit more creative or, flexible before I do yoga? What advice would you give these people that are considering jumping into a creative art?
Find the thing that you're good at. The best thing about you is that no one else is you, and everyone has an individual thing that they are good at. Maybe you have an extraordinary attention to detail, maybe you're super bendy, maybe you have exceptional like vision for color or something. Everyone's got that one thing. Try all, again, the buffet reference, I love the buffet. Try all of the things, because you're going to find that one thing that you're exceptional at, and that is your thing, and you got to let someone pay you for that or get paid for it. You got to get your hustle on.
I think that is absolutely wonderful advice. So if people want to find out more about you, where can they find you on the internet?
So Journal Right Now is my Instagram page. That's right as in WRIT. And so there you have all of my journaling stuff and journal prompts. Maggie makes stuff at .blogspot.com. Very old profile, but has an archive of crochet patterns. They're all free. My aliens are there. There's Cookie Monster and Elmo and all sorts of wonderful patterns there for crochet. Arcana Yoga on Facebook. That's just like for updates on my yoga classes and things as well.
Maggie, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, I've loved it.
Whenever I meet up with Maggie, I come away feeling inspired and improved somehow. She makes you feel like you can do anything you set your mind to. And she always puts herself in the way of beauty and then finds a way to capture it by hand. I love the way that she constantly thinks about other people's ability and works with them on their own level, never making them feel unable or untalented. She does her best to encourage everyone to try everything and not to stop until we've found what we're good at. Her meticulous interest in everything life has to offer, from a sewing stitch to her favourite book, encourages her to dedicate time, effort and focus into each activity, reminding us that maybe if we switch off our devices now and then, we can find extra time to create something new in the world, for ourselves or with our loved ones, around a table on a Sunday afternoon. She is a prime example of how limitless our potential is if we fully set our sights high enough, and that a crafter's work is never done, as she herself hops, skips and jumps into new crafts every day. Maggie never complains about her immense pain. Instead, she constantly channels it into something beautiful, whether that's with her body or her artwork. She sits with her pain, explores it, and then focuses on a solution rather than allowing it to win her over. How many of us, myself included, can learn from that mindset? To not lean into what holds us back, but instead what propels us forward. How pain can hold the body, but our minds are our own. And what we choose to experience in those moments may be something braver than the suffering itself. It may be the choice to continue forward. So why not dust off your old A4 sketchbooks, sharpen a pencil, put on some good music, and just see what wishes to come forth from those incredible hands or feet of yours. And who knows? You may find a part of yourself you didn't realise you had. As Lisa Golightly once rightly said, "There is no right way to make art. The only wrong is in not trying, not doing. Don't put barriers up that aren't there. Just get to work and make something. And who knows, you may touch someone else's heart in the process." Next week on the show, we talk to author, mentor and entrepreneur Cindy Wilcox and find out how her Love Leadership program is changing businesses and lives around the world. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the show. If you have a spare moment now, please like, subscribe and tell me your thoughts in a review, which will really help other people like yourself to find the show. Of course, you can also share with your friends and follow us at the Brave Moment Podcast 2020 on Instagram or the Brave Moment Podcast on Facebook. If you're interested in getting in touch, pop on over to the therapy page Coping to Mastery on Facebook or via the website copingtomastery.org. It's been so wonderful to have you all here with me again. Please get in touch with the show with your own stories and don't forget, your brave moment starts now.